I was at a restaurant when I noticed a little boy sitting with a couple 2 tables away. Something about him immediately caught my attention. He looked about 6 years old. He was sitting completely still, with both hands flat on the table and his eyes staring down at his leg. He hadn't even touched his food. Then I noticed the man talking to the woman. I'm deaf, so I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I started watching their lips. The man said something that made my blood run cold. The guitar is getting picked up Thursday. Same shop as February. I looked at the boy again. The woman asked, "How much are we getting this time?" The man replied, 12. Mint condition. Never been played. My fork froze in my hand. Mint condition. Never been played. Those words meant something very different to me. When I was 8 years old, I was a foster child. A couple had taken me in, and I believed they were going to become my family. But one night, I overheard them talking. They didn't know I could read lips. I watched them from the hallway. They were talking about a piano. The piano is getting delivered Friday to the collector. Small keys. 8 of them. Mint condition. Never been played. 3 days later, a stranger came to the house. They told me to go with him. I didn't understand what was happening until we were already on the highway. I had been sold. I escaped 8 years later when I was 16. But I never forgot those words. Piano. Collector. Mint condition. Never been played. And now, sitting in that restaurant, I was hearing those same words again. The woman reached over and straightened the little boy's collar. Then she smiled and said something. I read her lips. Beautiful specimen. The new owner is going to be very happy. My heart stopped. I knew I couldn't just sit there, but I also knew I had no proof. Maybe they really were talking about guitars. Maybe my past was making me see something that wasn't there. What if I accused innocent people? But what if I was right? I grabbed a napkin. My hands were shaking as I wrote down everything I'd seen and everything that had happened to me as a child. Then I called over a waitress. I showed her that I was deaf and handed her the napkin. She read it twice. Then she looked at me. She looked at the couple, and without saying a word, she took the napkin and walked toward the kitchen. I had no idea what she was going to do. A few minutes later, she came back. She walked toward me, but at the last second, she changed direction and went straight to the couple's table. She had a huge smile on her face. She leaned toward the man and whispered something. His expression immediately changed. He checked his phone, said something to the woman, pulled cash from his wallet, and dropped it on the table. Then they suddenly stood up. The woman grabbed the boy's arm and they rushed out. I sat there, shaking. Did the waitress warn them? Did she think I was crazy? Had I just allowed them to escape? Almost an hour later, I was about to leave when a man walked into the restaurant. He had a badge on his belt. He looked around, saw me, and walked straight over. Then he pulled out a notepad and wrote, "You gave a waitress a note about a couple with a boy." I nodded. He wrote, "I need you to come with me." At the police station, I met a detective who knew ASL. She asked me to explain everything. I signed every detail I had seen. Then she asked how I knew what those words meant. So I told her my entire story. When I finished, she sat quietly for a moment. Then she signed 3 words that made my chest tighten. You were right. The couple had been stopped 8 blocks away. The boy was safe. He was taken into Child Protective Services. Then the detective told me something even worse. The boy was a foster child. There were no legal records or paperwork showing where he had been placed. The couple had had him for 5 months. And this wasn't their first child, he was the 4th. The other 3 children had been sold. Police had been searching for the couple for 2 years. I sat there shaking. All I could see was myself at 8 years old, sitting at a table, hands flat, eyes down, waiting for someone to notice. And this time someone did.